Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back to this destashing marathon. My name is Lisa, let's get into it. If you don't know what a destashing marathon is, it is me going through my fabric stash trying to create as many beautiful seasonally appropriate garments as possible. The first part of this series actually happened last week, where I went through the different fabrics that I'm going to work with in this marathon, and I created original sketches and designs for each of the fabrics. We also actually already completed the first project, which was this beautiful boat neck drop waist denim mini dress, which I'm totally obsessed with. So if you have not seen that yet, go check it out right now. Today, we are going to get started with the second project, which is this absolutely gorgeous crinkle satin with a bit of a whimsical feel about it, a little bit menswear, a little bit house moving castle core. If you don't know what the plan is for this fabric, let me remind you. So we're going to have a completely sheared tank top style bodice with bishop sleeves and cuffs and a gathered half circle skirt. We also might create a scarf for it, but we are not quite sure about that yet. We need to check how much fabric we have left. When I say we, I mean myself. I don't know why I'm many. I'm super stoked about this fabric. Will it be a pain in the ass? I'm sure it will, because it's super slippery. So I'm a little bit nervous about it too. However, I know that it will look gorgeous in the end, so can't wait to get started. So let's go. Quick update. I actually just used this opportunity of me having to make a pattern for a bishop sleeve to do a complete sleeve tutorial, like how to draft a sleeve from scratch tutorial, which I assume, I'm not sure, has either already come out or is coming out after this series. Anyway, so we have a bishop sleeve now, which is rather cute. Quite happy with this. So we have, as you can see here, a bit of a puffy shoulder, nothing crazy. And we have quite a bit of volume down here in the cuff. I think I could take it in a little bit here, but I think I'm going to do that in the sewing process, in the fitting process, basically, is what I'm thinking. We have the traced, it doesn't look like much here, but this is my traced tank top. And I'm simply going to reuse the skirt pattern of the denim dress that I made last week, because that also is a gathered circle skirt. So I don't really have to do anything else. I have the sleeve, I have the skirt, and I have the bodice. Great. So that means what I need to do now is suss out a square rectangle piece of fabric that I then am going to shirr down, which is going to take a while because we have two really. We have the front piece and the back piece. Which means I should look up a podcast or a show to watch. I'm gonna go through the shirring process really quickly. I've done that many times at this point. So if you've been around here, you can skip for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. If you're new here, let's go through the steps of how to shirr. Alright, here are a few of the supplies you will need for shirring. Firstly, you will need to choose the thread and the color that you want to go for. I'm going to go for this slightly yellow tinged white that is going to nicely disappear in the more buttery yellow background. I also need some shirring elastic. Now this is very easy to get. You can either get this in your local craft store or you can order it on Amazon. This is literally just elasticated sewing thread and looks like this. You will also need an empty bobbin that you will now wind by hand. So the elasticated thread goes onto the bobbin, and the way you do this is by holding one end with one finger, the same hand that also holds your bobbin, and you just start winding the thread onto the bobbin. And what you want to make sure here is that you don't use too much tension, because otherwise your elastic will just jump straight off the bobbin. But you also don't want to go too loose, because that's going to impact the integrity of your shirring threads. So a tiny little bit of tension, but not too much so that it jumps off. You will have to repeat this process a couple of times during the shirring process, depending on the size of the piece that you want to shirr. Since I have a very big piece today, I can see myself doing this probably 6 to 10 times minimum. All right, once that is done, we can plop it into our sewing machine. What you want to do is to set your machine to the biggest stitch length available. For me, that is 5. The bigger the stitch length, the more pronounced the shirring will be. And it works like a charm. Beautiful. The more rows of shirring we have, the more integrity the whole piece gets. So basically you just sew from one end of the selvage to the other as many times as you need to cover the whole piece, and then you finish it off by ironing the piece. And that's going to take a while, like I mentioned earlier, because this is quite a large piece. So I'm gonna now put it on a show and put you on speed dial.
Nothing to give you, Joe.
It doesn't matter.
My hands are empty.
They're not empty.
Oh my, it's the next day and this took me way longer than it should have. Let me fill you in. Basically, this was the first piece that I shirred. Remember, this was 65 by 65. Look how tiny this is now. This fabric, when it's shirred down, has a shrinkage of over 50%. This is like half as wide, less than half as wide as the initial piece that I cut. So you can see when I stretch it, it's substantial, and this is what it shrinks down to. Also, quite wonky. Not my best work, not gonna lie. I also pressed it too flat, so it looks a little sad.
That had to go in the bin.
I then went and cut 2 new pieces that were 75 by 70, 75 being the width. So I added 15 centimeters to try and make it a little bit wider. I didn't want to cut too much from the rest of my fabric because I'm gonna need that for the skirt and for the sleeves. Still tiny, barely covers the front of my torso. I have 2 pieces of these now because I had to go with them. I don't think I have much more fabric to lose before I run out, basically. So this is what we have to work with. Meaning I had to come up with a plan B as to how I get the shape that I need, which is slightly different from what I had planned initially. So let me fill you in. Assuming this is my front layer, my initial plan was to use this pattern piece, which is the traced tank top that I made yesterday, and basically just plop it on here and cut it out. As we can see, this pattern piece is bigger than the shirred perimeter that I have. I do know, however, that if I place these 2 things, 2 layers right sides touching, and sew them together along the sides, I'm gonna fit into them, no problem, because this is 140 centimeters perimeter when it's unshirred, basically, when it's stretched out. So I know that I will get in here without any issue. That means my plan for now is to sew together the sides for starters, and then I'm gonna sew the shoulders, and then I'm gonna cut myself a neck hole and some armholes. It's risky. It's definitely risky because if it doesn't work, all of this was for naught and then I have to start from scratch. So I'm a little nervous.
There's no going back after this.
Okay, we have a tube. That's what we have, which is what we usually do, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. I'll try this on now. Okay, I can confirm that I fit into the tube without issue. And the next step follows suit, which is we have to cut into the shirring. Now I have to make a couple of decisions. Firstly, I need to place my shoulders somehow. This gives me a rough idea of the angle of the shoulder and the width of them as well. So I'm just gonna sew from this pin to this pin now. Okay, so there's an opening, which is for the head. And now, putting that back on, I just need the depth or the length basically of the armhole, and I'm gonna fold this over to mirror this to the other side. Basically what I'm doing right here is I'm treating this as if this was a knitted tube. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with knit tubes before. I have once, and this is basically what I did to get a top. Right, so this would have to, I would have to open this again. And I'm opening this until I reach where I had placed the shoulder seam just now, which is here. I placed the seam right here, and I locked the side seam right here, meaning I have an opening here and I have an opening here, which this is my arm hole and this is my neck hole. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I did a thing. It worked. We have a tank top that is shirred. Would you believe it? Two things. I don't think I need to cut the armholes, at least not by much. Maybe I'm gonna even leave them as they are right now, because once I insert my sleeves, I'm gonna lose a little bit of width anyway, and I don't want this part to become too narrow. And I will lower the neckline here, but I might also wait doing that because the design is gonna have a tiny little shawl, basically, that we can tie up in the back, or at least that was the idea. So I'm gonna leave that as is now, and I'm gonna focus on the sleeves next, followed by the skirt, because this is obviously not gonna stay like that. Okay, I have some one-sided fusible interfacing right here, and I'm going to cut some of it for my cuffs. Okay, so I have two cuffs now, great, and I have my cut bishop sleeves, and I'm so excited about them. So I have two layers of these. I'm grabbing one, and I'm bringing one sleeve inseam to the other right sides touching as per usual, and then I pin and sew and serge down the sleeve inseam. So sleeves are sewn together and the cuffs are done. So now what I need to do is to place a basting stitch firstly around the perimeter of the length of the sleeve, and then also around the shoulder apex, because I need to gather this down, and I also need to gather this down to fit the cuff. Okay, once I feel like I'm getting close, I'm going to start pinning from here. So I'm grabbing the cuff and I'm pulling the sleeve through the cuff, and then I align the side seam or the inseam, sleeve inseam, with the connecting seam in the cuff. Cuff is on. Look at that. Looks delicious. Oh, that's gorgeous. Haha, I'm gonna look like a magician. Nice. It's gonna be one nice sleeve. So now that I've attached the cuff, the next thing I will have to do is probably, there's a few things I could do, but they're all not super straightforward. Okay, when we turn this inside out, this is what we look at. We have the second layer, which is still loose. And what I could do is push all of the seam allowance upwards into the cuff and then try and fold this over and top stitch it. That's something I could do, or I could hand sew it, or I could serge it, which would probably be the easiest thing to do, sort of like this.
That's a later problem.
That's a later problem. I will most likely hand sew it shut because I want to, but that's a TV evening activity type thing. I just cut the neckline and it's feeling volatile, not gonna lie. So I need to carefully take this to my serger now and serge around it so it doesn't come undone. Looks interesting. Let's try it on. We did it. Is it wonky down here? Yes, it is. Can we fix it? Sure, why not? But the sleeves, hello sleeves, bishop sleeves, they're really cool. So now all we need is a skirt, and then we need to fix this situation. Today's the day I'm gonna finish the green satin dress, and it's also the first day of the year, or like of the season, where I'm wearing a pullover, like a proper one, because it's getting colder outside. So we did this just in time for fall to actually arrive. little change of plan. I attached the skirt to the dress and it now looks like this. Pretty cute, pretty nice.
Pretty mindful.
We like it, but the skirt is now a tiny little bit short. I kind of wanted to cut it shorter than I usually would because I felt like it looked better with the silhouette of the dress, but now it's too short. At the same time, I don't mind that so much because I felt like the skirt was also missing something. Like just having this plain old skirt hanging down from this very extravagant top felt a little wrong. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add a ruffled here. You know me, I love a good ruffled here on a skirt. So what I've done is I've cut from my remnants, which were just about enough, hopefully. I've cut 2 layers of these strips of fabric right here, which are, if you want to know exactly, 14 centimeters tall and 206 long each. So we have 412 centimeters for the ruffle. So to actually gather down to the circumference of the half circle skirt, which should just about be enough to give it an actual effect. If you've been around here, you know the drill. It's pretty straightforward. It's relatively beginner sewing, I would say. So let us commence. Okay, so step 1, putting the right sides touching. Alright, so now that the 2 basting stitches are attached, I can focus on the other side, which is my hem and how I finish it. And I decided I'm going to give this a rolling hem because it's satin and that's a very good way to finish it. So I'm just going to fold it over by 1/2 centimeter for starters and then sew all the way down at the edge. I'm going to try to keep this as minimal as possible and I'm going to try to sew as closely to the edge as I can. Alright, so now that I've cut this back, I'm gonna fold it over once again and stitch that down, and then we have a rolling hem. Alright, and now the last thing to do is to attach the ruffle to the skirt perimeter. And we don't really have front and back and sides and all of those things because it's one continuous panel, so I will try to just give myself approximate placements for the sides and the center front because that just helps me to gather down everything somewhat equally. Time to move on to the next project. Hello, it's another day, and today is a day we're taking risks. Okay, so what are we doing? We are now in plaid territory. This is the fabric we're working with. This is the design that I have planned for this. Have I ever made something like this before? No. Do I have an idea of what the pattern's supposed to look like? Maybe. Why is it a day for taking risks? Because I am going to plunge straight into it. I'm not going to fuss about with any mock-ups or test runs. I am going to cut the fabric straight from, no, I'm going to cut the pattern straight from the fabric is what I'm trying to say. What I'm gonna do is I will use this piece right here, which is sort of the traced tank top from last time from the shirt dress. And I'm going to use this to modify it on my fabric to create the space and the breathing room that I need for the pleats in the shoulder and in the opposite waist. So yeah, I'm just gonna totally freestyle this today and either it works or it doesn't, but I'm feeling adventurous. So let's go. I may be a little bit out of my mind, but here we are. Let me move you over so you can see more of what I'm doing. So basically we're using the slash and spread method if you've never heard about this before. And then I'm pivoting this the opposite direction, trying to land on the bias. That should be good enough. And now with the limited space I have, I'm gonna do a thing and cut this and be a bit crazy.
Just a little crazy.
This is what we've got. Looks crazy. Totally nuts. Gosh, guys, if this ever makes it on the internet, that will mean I've been successful. Hopefully. Okay, it's a bit unstable now. It definitely needs a back. It's not completely impossible. I accidentally cut the perfect headscarf from the fabric. How do we feel about this? Is this cute or is this weird? Alright, so while Instagram is deciding whether my headscarf is cute or cringe, I'm gonna sew in my darts because I am unbothered. I have decided now that I'm going to gather down the shoulder and the waist rather than pin it together. And so I'm placing a couple of basting stitches now. Also, by the way, Instagram said that the headscarf is cute. So maybe it's a thing. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. Actually quite promising, I have to say. And now I'm going to pin front and back together. Making sure the right sides are touching, which with this fabric is a little harder than maybe usually, but I assume that the darker stripes are the right side. And now I'll sew my side seams on my shoulders. I'm sorry, but did this work? Did this actually work? I think it did. Like, how cute is this? So I left one of the sides open a little bit because I thought, you know, why not? Also, there isn't like an insane amount of width in the skirt, so maybe it makes walking a little bit more accessible. I love that we have this straight grain up here and then the 45-degree angle down here. I think that looks really cool. And now actually all we need to do is add the sleeves, but I'm having second thoughts about my t-shirt sleeve idea. Initially I just want to add short little cap t-shirt sleeves, but I think I might have enough fabric for long sleeves. And since this is a fall autumn dress, maybe that's more practical. Just a little sneak peek, and I'm thinking I'm not gonna do the short sleeve. I just think it's gonna look cooler. Alright, I am actually extremely pleased with this. I did not think that this was going to turn out so well. I just tried it on again and I'm actually quite smitten with this dress. It looks very cool. Let me show you how we're going to do those sleeves because I'm going to freestyle those as well. For starters, I am going to measure the circumference of my armhole. So we have 56 centimeters on one side and I'm just going to corroborate this measurement with the other side. Yeah, it's about the same circumference, 55, 56. What I'm doing for the sleeve is I'm grabbing my remnant fabric and I'm trying to create two folds on top of each other. Sort of, kind of like this. There's two measurements I need. One is the circumference of my armhole, which we know is 56. When I halve 56, what I get is 28, probably. 28. So this is what I need for the shoulder curve, and then what I also need is the circumference of my upper arm, which is 31.5. When I take 31.5, let's make it 32. What do I get? 16. Yes, correct, 16. And what I do is, starting from here, I need to measure 16 centimeters over this way, but I'm going to add some ease here. I'm going to make it 18 because we don't want this to be a super tight sleeve. We want this to be a loose sleeve. And then I move my tape measure to the left from that point, and I also place the needle again on that 18 centimeter mark just so I know that this is parallel. And now the 28 centimeter measurement comes in for me when I need to create my armhole curve. I need to make sure that this line that I'm drawing here is in fact 28 centimeters because this ensures that it fits into my sleeve when I sew it in. I'm just placing my tape measure here and then I quickly, with a removable fabric pin, draw this S shape. Now I know that when I cut this, this is roughly 28 centimeters and is going to fit my armhole. And that's all you need to do for a simple t-shirt sleeve.
I am not too fussed, as you can tell.
And now I can sew them in. We know the drill, right sides touching, starting with the sleeve inseam on the side seam of the dress. Then I start pinning this first section. I reach into the sleeve, turn everything inside out, and pin around the armhole. And here we go. First sleeve is in, and it fits like a glove.
Like a total glove.
And the second step will be to try it on and then have a look as to how long I want it to be, and then I can shorten the cuff. And with that, we're almost done.
You my baby and you know it, right? Yeah, I just remember what you said to me. I'm your man, babe, I'm your man. You know I try to give you everything I can. I'm the one to make you come and get it, girl. I'll be gentle with you, protect you from the world. You know I got it for you. Check in my bank account. Women love to talk to me, but my blank face says I'm hers. I'm handsome, chiseled like a god. I got word, charisma. I serve it to your side. Hold my love for ransom. Position how you like, baby. You know I got endurance. We go all night, all night. Let me deal with all your enemies. Just enjoy that you're my precious baby. I could be your Mr. Everything, and all you have to do is dream. Who's Mr. Everything? Who's Mr. Everything? He's your baby and you know it's right. Yeah, girl, just remember what he says. You in my hands for good. I got a plan for two. This is a man that's on a mission. Won't you stand by him? Cause you're her. You're sexy. You're baddest. You the worst, but you sweet like Hershey.
Hi there. All right, I think it's pretty clear I'm the winner here. Like, look at me. I'm gorgeous. I'm satin. I'm shiny. I don't really think anyone can really compete with me. Hi, who are you? Who invited you? What do you mean? I'm also part of this. You're plaid. You know, I don't want to put it like this, but you're a bit everyday core. Wait a minute. Everyday core? Like, I'm special too. I have like gathers here and gathers here, and I mean, not that many anymore, but they're still there. Also, I mean, don't forget there was a dress last week that we need to kind of include with this. She was pretty. I mean, sure, she was pretty, but not like me. Do you know that she's like a sewing pattern now? Like, people can buy her? Not like us. Come again? Oh, you're leaving? Okay. Come on, I didn't mean it like that. And also, there's still a dress that, you know, is part of this next week that we have no idea what it's gonna look like. Yeah, come back. I don't like being here by myself. Okay. I mean, you're right. There's still another dress to come next week, so maybe there is competition. Exactly, so I guess see you next week. Yeah, let's defer the decision. I'm a little nervous anyway. Bye.